What's up, guys? It is Thursday, October 6th. It's 11:28 a.m., and this is the newsletter. So we're going to go continue from yesterday, and let me pull it up. All right. So NASDAQ plans to offer custody services for Bitcoin and Ethereum to institutional investors. This was back September 20th. And then we got, what is the real use case of tokens in global economies? So let's look at that real quick. Oh, okay. So it's behind a paywall, so we're going to skip that. And then we have spoke to Outlook India about what a digital rupee can mean for India. CBDCs can play a key role in advancing financial inclusion, with Ripple's partnerships with Bhutan and Palo highlighting how blockchain can help build an equitable financial system. So here's how central bank digital currency can help India's, let's look at it, help India's digital economy. Last week, the U.S. published a report titled The Future of Money and Payments, which outlined several characterizations of key issues, such as crypto, stablecoins, instant payments, and the U.S. central bank digital currency, among others. So just getting into all of it, basically, they're making the case for how India could benefit from a CBDC. Then what we got here is XRP may serve as the bridge currency in cross-border interbank payments, according to the World Economic Forum. This is their Digital Currency Governance Consortium White Paper Series, November 2021. And then in it outlined XRP, potentially for privately created digital assets to facilitate CBDC, and existing private sector blockchain-based digital assets could potentially assist in the facilitation of cross-border wholesale interbank CBDC payments and transactions. Examples include the utility settlement coin and XRP digital assets. Such assets may serve as a bridge currency in cross-border interbank payments. Before experimenting with such digital assets, policymakers should have a clear understanding of the value add they could provide from economic and technical perspectives, considering both pre-existing or alternative solutions and limitations or downsides. Right there. So outlining XRP as that bridge currency. Then you have iRemit expands partnership with Ripple to further leverage on-demand liquidity for treasury management. And then this is Ripple's CEO. He says Ben Bernanke, former head of the U.S. Fed, came to one of Ripple's customers' events, and one of the things he said is, countries will not give up their ability to control monetary supply. They'll roll tanks into the street first because it's giving up sovereignty. So let's hear it.
Sovereignty. Now, we can debate whether or not some countries, if you approach the regulators with you need to adapt to us, I mean, that is dead on arrival. Like, in my experience, and globally, and frankly, even here in Davos, meeting with financial regulators in all kinds of countries, I think we have to acknowledge, Ben Bernanke, the former head of the U.S. Fed, came to one of Ripple's customer events. And one of the things he said is, countries will not give up their ability to control monetary supply. They will roll tanks into the streets first because it's giving up sovereignty. Now, we can debate whether or not some countries at the longer tail ever had control of their money supply. But the G20, I think I agree with Jeremy that digital cash, cash is anonymous and private and all those things. But if you ever walk into the bank and ask to withdraw $20,000 of cash, they're going to ask you a lot of questions. If you approach the regulators with
So there we go. And then Tether agrees to produce court-requested documents to establish the reserves backing USDT. So that's good because there's been a lot of speculation about that. And then we got, while the tech is new, the tale of a financial instrument breaking the buck as part of a financial crisis, followed by lawmakers seeking to offer legislation to regulate them, is becoming an American tradition. So amid Terra Luna fallout, stablecoin legislation may become law by 2022. So by the end of this year. So stablecoin regulation. Then we got, F assets. So Flare is going to be launching end of October to the first week of November. And these are the assets you'll be able to basically lock up and earn interest on. So XRP, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Doge, Algorand, Filecoin, Stellar. So I believe these coins will have a pump leading up into that moment. And that's probably why they are pumping, because of people knowing that this is going to be the case and that you can earn interest on these now when you never could before. And then the world's second largest stock exchange will soon offer Bitcoin services. The world's largest asset manager is offering Bitcoin. One of the world's biggest financial service companies is offering Bitcoin 401ks, and this is just the beginning. And then Royal Family Dubai Company CEO, a large number of companies are ready to embrace Bitcoin as legal tender for transactions. Then we got France's third largest bank now offers Bitcoin services to institutions. And then we have the new offerings will allow asset managed customers of the bank to offer Bitcoin and cryptocurrency funds in a simple and adapted manner with the European regulatory framework. The Societe Generale said in a statement, French banking giant launches Bitcoin fund services for asset managers. And this has been the constant theme across the world. All these big asset managers in each country are now opening up the doors for crypto. Then we have the Hong Kong Monetary Authority plans to start trials of its central bank digital currency in the fourth quarter, the South China Morning Post reported Tuesday. So Hong Kong central bank digital currency trials in Q4. So we're in Q4 now, so any day now. The EU is closer to a final text, and I believe they actually did finalize the text. Bank of England says paper banknotes only good for one more week. So now that it's October 1st, there's no more paper banknotes in the UK that remain legal tender. They had to cash them in, basically, and everything's going digital. Then we got SWIFT has presented a framework for a global CBDC system, claiming to have solved the challenge of interoperability between different networks. So you know that. And then cash is not the same as an electronic payment. The first is central bank money. The second uses private money. I believe I covered this in my newsletter yesterday. Nexo is offering unqualified securities to U.S. customers via interest-bearing accounts. California regulator claims, but then they acquired a bank, so they're going to be straight. Then you have Central Bank of Bahrain sees a lot of utility to XRP, and they said that XRP is also used to provide on-demand liquidity for Ripple's flagship RippleNet service, a global payments network of financial institutions that was originally 3 separate products prior to 2019. Then you have other use cases of the XRP: Forex, escrow, real-time gross settlement, payment for digital goods, and other near instantly products and services, peer-to-peer purchases, central bank IOU, decentralized exchange, online voting. A lot of things you can do. And then you have Nexo acquires stake in Summit National Bank. So that's they're going to be able to offer like bank accounts. They're going to dodge that cease and desist from those U.S. states. And then you have Celsius CEO submits letter of resignation. And then breaking, there will be no World Cup this year. Something will happen in the coming weeks, Secretary of the Russian Security Council. So that's something to keep on the radar. Then Voyager completes successful auction. So they concluded their auction and next steps for the restructuring process. And then this is Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Yes, and the SEC gave it. I would characterize the SEC has built a reputation, I think, deserved as being a bully. You know, many players that the SEC has gone after, they simply have to fold their cards. I mean, Ripple will spend well over $100 million defending ourselves in a case that we have tried to move forward as quickly as we can, and the SEC has gone as slowly as they can. You know, I mean, another example I think is pretty profound. There's a kind of infamous speech that Bill Hinman, the director of corporate finance in the SEC, gave in June of 2018 saying ETH is not a security. And the judge 5 times in the last 18 months, the judge in our case, she has ordered the SEC to turn over the notes in that case 5 times. We still don't have those notes. And I look at that as like the SEC, it is a government agency. The government works for the people. The judge is ordering the SEC to turn these notes over, and they won't do it, and they keep coming up with new reasons why. So much so that the judge, in her most recent ruling, said the SEC is being hypocritical, and I will quote, saying, not following a faithful allegiance to the law. These are damning words for an agency whose mission is stated as to protect investors. In the case of the the Ripple lawsuit, they destroyed $15 billion of value in the XRP market when they filed the lawsuit. That was not protecting investors.
That's for sure. And then we got Christine Lagarde from the European Central Bank. Let's hear it.
Digital currency is what I'm referring to. I tell you, certainly see potential for CBDC. Digital currency is what I'm referring to. I tell you, what we are seeing, and it changes so fast in a matter of 1 year. You know, the crypto assets at large have lost about 85% of their value in a matter of 1 year. What we are seeing at the moment is what Carlos was referring to, which is, you know, development into new technologies that will actually change the way in which intermediation is conducted, eliminate some of the barriers, including the unconscious biases that exists out there. And, you know, I think in the banking system at large in many countries, the difference will not be between those who are disrupted and those who survive, but it will be between those who are cannibalized because they are not seeing it coming and they're not embracing it, and those who self-induce that cannibalization. And I'm using cannibalization on purpose because it's a bit of a striking, horrible word, but it's really what it means. It's you're going to disrupt your business model, you're going to change it, you're going to reduce your cost, you're going to expedite your transactions, and you're going to continue to inspire confidence because you will build that on the basis of an existing backbone, which is your bank and the confidence relationship that you've established with your customers. So that's where I see changes happening now. If you think of Circle and Ripples and all those, that's where they are active and helpful.
Right there, like the nod of approval, saying Ripple and Circle, USDC and XRP. And then Fed Chair Jerome Powell says a US CBDC would not be anonymous.
Following four characteristics. First is intermediated. Second is privacy protected. But third is identity verified. So it would not be anonymous. It would not be an anonymous bearer instrument. And fourth is transferable or interoperable. So we would be looking to balance privacy protection with identity verification, which has to be done, of course, in today's traditional banking system as well. We think that there are four characteristics of.
We got Treasury Functions, XRP, XLM stablecoins, so-called stablecoins, KPMG report, ESG Paris 2030. So you got disruption from every direction. Last year, investors poured $19 billion into fintech. Startup continues to proliferate. Challenges to the big banks now range from PayPal, the granddaddy of e-payments, which spun off from eBay last year, to cryptocurrency companies such as Coinbase. Below is a selection of the best funded startups. You have Ripple here, Coinbase. You got Circle, and there's not any other ones. Digitization and Treasury. A Ripple is going through Treasury, and it talks about, in our series of articles on digitization and Treasury, we analyze the relevance of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology for corporate Treasury departments, as well as their possible influence on the established money system. As we already mentioned, then the market for cryptocurrencies and the underlying technologies are developing at the speed of lightning. While crypto prices, above all those for Bitcoin, took a dive in 2018, the past year nevertheless could be called the year of the blockchain, as this is the underlying technology of many of these currencies. While different consortia and joint ventures in the financial industry are testing the usefulness of blockchain, broad changes seem to be especially evident in one area due to a blockchain technology in international payment operations. Currently, the established top dogs, especially the SWIFT consortium, are competing against innovative newcomers to the industry. So it's talking about SWIFT, and we already know XRP and XLM, so-called stablecoins, innovative startups such as Ripple, but also established technology. Corporations such as IBM are aiming to revolutionize the payment operations environment with new concepts based on blockchain technology, thus eliminating the weaknesses of the established system presented above. The core concept of blockchain technology is the dematerialization of assets, the creation of so-called digital assets. And it talks about how Ripple, and then let me see, Stellar, the significant factors, talking about XRP. I don't know where it says Stellar near, but IBM does use XLM, so maybe that's what. All right, let's keep going. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says there's a real need to better regulate cryptocurrency. And then Ripple partner launched crypto payment solution in Argentina. Then you have the ECB chief Lagarde says she does not like to see a new period of free banking due to cryptocurrencies. CBDCs are required to maintain the role of central banks. So let's see.
In terms of digital, where do we stand? We central bankers, we have been operating as a monetary anchor in relation to the commercial banks and the private money. If we are not in that game, if we are not involved in experimenting, in innovating in terms of digital central bank money, we risk losing the role of anchor that we have played for many, many decades. And we have historical examples of period where the central bank monetary anchor was not there, and that precipitated crisis after crisis. That certainly was the case at the time of the free banking in the 19th century. Do we want to go back to those days? Probably not. I would say certainly not from our vantage point, as a result of which we have to respond to the demand for those digital payments in order to maintain the role of anchor that we have been playing regularly. Where do we...
So there we go. And then we got long-term Bitcoin holders, on the other hand, are holding strong, and Glassstone researchers say numerous metrics are displaying a full cycle detox. So saying that we've already gone through a full cycle and now we're heading to the next one. Then you have Ripple XRP fam. This public platform she speaks of could easily be the XRPL. The interoperability of it is what the world needs. XRP and the XRPL fixes all this. George Avia, this is the IMF head, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund.
Money yet have is international settlement based on CBDCs.
Right.
CBDCs are not yet internationalized. But this is where the potential to cut cost of remittances is. Today, on average, 6.3%. So you are a worker and you want to send money to your family in euros, in dollars. 6.3% is the cut of the intermediary. And obviously, this is an opportunity for advancement, to use technology to make advancements. Where is the difficulty? The difficulty is that today, monetary policy in a country, or as it is the case in the Eurozone, within the Eurozone, is defined by the central bank, the Fed, the European Central Bank. And this monetary policy applies to the territory, the jurisdiction. How could central bank digital currency cross borders and go into another jurisdiction? Would that create a risk of currency substitution? So everybody says, I want ECB's CBDC. I want the euro. And these are unresolved issues, but it doesn't mean they cannot be resolved. This is why, from the fund, we are advocating to think about this world of digital money as a global public good. And in a recent discussion in Zurich, where we both were, what we advocated for is to have a public platform. So when protocols are agreed, this public platform can connect different CBDCs. There can be interoperability the same way.
That interoperability connecting CBDCs, cross transfers of them, right? That's what she's outlining. And then this is the Christine Lagarde again.
Viewers and asked the question about this. This is going over 8 trillion euros now. Mm-hmm. And isn't what you just told us about the cryptocurrencies, don't we see a gigantic bubble here on your balance sheet with the euro? And isn't this graph very nerve-wracking?
Well, I can tell you that there is 0 crypto assets in the balance sheet of the ECB.
That I know.
Point number one. Well, I just don't want any ambiguity about it.
Yeah.
But you have to think in terms of counterfactual. If we had not decided on March 18th, when we put together the pandemic emergency program and then subsequently increased the volume of commitment that we made to the European Union economies, we would be in a devastated situation. So I don't regret any of that move that we took on that day, which was 4 months into my job, to significantly increase the size of the balance sheet, because that's all we had. Yeah. Otherwise, the economy would have collapsed, and it would have been even accelerated by a financial crisis.
You had to do it. It was the COVID crisis. You say that's what we needed to do. But how do you get it?
It will come. It will come. In due course. Yeah.
How?
In due course, it will come.
Yeah?
No,
But do you sleep at night when you see this?
Of course I have to sleep at night. And I have to worry every morning.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're saying, how are you going to fix the debt? And she's saying, like, it's going to come in due time. And they have a plan for it. They just can't say it. And then this is her again.
Very unlikely. I think I would say it's out of the question, actually.
Out of the banks to hold Bitcoin as part of their reserve currency.
Very unlikely. I think I would say it's out of the question, actually.
There we go. And then this was article from Wall Street, or like the Times or something. Yeah, no, Wall Street Journal in late 2017. And these were the price predictions of a couple cryptos. Bitcoin, 183K. Ethereum, 17,000. XRP, $1,046. Litecoin, $980. Like, they were throwing these numbers out for XRP pie in the sky. Ethereum, 17K. Bitcoin, 183K. Like, everybody is expecting that Litecoin could hit 982. People say today, like, XRP can never hit $1,000, but the Wall Street Journal is calling it back 5 years ago. And then this was a pretty big guy in the space. He said, if you think Bitcoin went on a tear once CNBC and institutional investors learned about it, just wait till they discover Ripple XRP. That was back 2017. Here's Gary Gensler. He's the head of the SEC, and he is talking about fintech payment systems and unicorn projects, calling Ripple a unicorn, which is a $1 billion company, and saying Ripple is a cryptocurrency. Let's hear it.
We've chatted a little bit. So what's the payment landscape? Who are the companies? Well, we've talked about big tech, and I'm glad, Luke, I think I have Kidco Pay on there. Oh, thankfully. I should have had Line Pay as well. I mean, but big tech. Okay, we've chatted a little bit about that. And then there's, of course, a bunch of unicorn startups. I could have put another half dozen to a dozen, unicorn being $1 billion of value or more. But each of these startups have a little bit different way that they've broken into this space. Plaid, which we've chatted a little bit about, Plaid is in this space because they came in through open APIs. And facilitating the software in the system. Ripple is a cryptocurrency type company. 197 is. So what's the
right there? This whole SEC case is just like all a facade, because he can't be saying all that before he takes office, and once he takes office, his whole tone switches. Then this is from the DTCC. Periodically, it's necessary for clients of the DTCC and its affiliates to confirm holdings for regulatory compliance and other reasons. Beginning September 29th, DTC will implement an enhancement to the service by introducing a more streamlined, digitized workflow. So they're upgrading their systems. And then we have Chinese banks set to revive counter-cyclical factor and yuan midpoint fixing formula. So interested to see what that entails. Then we have, it would appear the SEC and Tim Draper know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Check out this entry from Wednesday, August 23rd, 2017 at 11 a.m. Satoshi Nakamoto is the anonymous creator of Bitcoin, and this was on their schedule. Meet with Satoshi N and Tim Draper. Meet with Satoshi M and Tim Draper. So, like, something sus is going on. Then you have Al Farden Exchange ties up with blockchain company Ripple for real-time payments. Then this is Ripple CEO.
What I mean by that is Bitcoin and find that it was the Napster of digital assets. What I mean by that is Napster was the first to digitize music and demonstrate, hey, if you digitize music, you can do a lot of cool things with that. But ultimately, they were circumventing trademark laws, they were circumventing royalty payments, and government stepped in, and Napster was not successful. But Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, they were very successful. I think what you'll find is that maybe the next generation of digital assets ends up solving some of the original problems that Bitcoin set out to solve.
So RippleNet is trying to take on SWIFT. What's been the traction like? Who's come on board?
Well, it's interesting as you step back and look at this. If you and I decided we were going to send $10,000 to California today, the fastest way for us to do it would be to drive to the airport and fly it there. That's a crazy thing to think about when you're in the age of the internet and we're used to information on demand. When we think about the customers that have come on board, it's because we're solving that real problem. We're changing the nature of a payment taking days to settle to California to seconds. So we now have well over 100 customers ranging from some of the biggest banks in the world to payment providers to the Western Unions and MoneyGrams, Linlin Pay out of China. Back to your question, is XRP the next Bitcoin? If we work with the system to solve this problem, and we can solve that problem at scale, a problem measured in the trillions of dollars, then there's a lot of opportunity to create value in XRP.
Essentially, XRP is trying to provide a reliable, on-demand source of liquidity for cross-border payments. Now, let's define liquidity. Liquidity describes the degree to which an asset or security can be quickly bought or sold in the market without affecting the asset's price. What we see in today's market is price volatility as a relatively small number of investors buy and sell XRP on exchanges. Liquidity for XRP or any other crypto comes as the price rises. Higher prices equals higher liquidity. The fact that Ripple Labs locked up 55% of the total XRP in timed release escrow accounts and has been disciplined in relocking the unsold portions of each release will help to eventually drive the price higher. Even though institutional partners are likely buying XRP over the counter from these releases, this is not reflected in the published.
There we go. So it has to be a high price, right? And then he said, I think the vast majority of people in the crypto industry want to play by the rules. Let's be clear about what the rules are. It says about crypto regulation, the CEO, Brad Garlinghouse. Then you have SBI and R3. SBI R3 Japan is a joint venture between SBI Holdings R3 and Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group, providing R3 products for Japanese customers. Let's hear this guy from R3, CTO.
One of their primary focus. They're still working with Ripple at all? As a company, I know that there was some extracurricular activity that was working its way through the courts, but and it's since been resolved. But I'm curious if there's ongoing discussions, since one of their primary focus is on the interbank settlement component that you're also touching.
So frankly, Ripple's probably the only topic I can't talk about. So I just don't talk about it. Like I can't talk about it. I can't talk.
So they can't talk about it for a reason, and I think it's because they know what the plans are for it, and they sign NDAs, and you know what I mean. And then we got Energy Web token. You can now stake it and earn interest on it. And VeChain processed 700,000 transactions in less than 3 hours for Walmart real-world adoption right here. So beyond Walmart China, VeChain also collaborated with ASI Group and DNB GL to develop a trade solution for food and beverage industry. So let's keep going. FTX to pay $1.4 billion to get Voyager's crypto and customers. So they're going to be buying out Voyager's assets. Then you have CBDCs can also offer significant benefits over traditional payment mechanisms. Chief among these are programmability and automation. And then Brazilian Securities Exchange Commission requested a large local crypto exchange, Mercado Bitcoin, for information on fixed income tokens it has issued since 2020. And then Bank of England joins Japan. We now have three groups: the ones suppressing rates at the cost of their currency, Japan and BOE; the ones protecting their currency at the cost of their bond market, US and Brazil; the ones letting their currency and bond market collapse, ECB and others. And then Kevin O'Leary on Ethereum said, I'm sorry, but it's still too slow. That's why XRP is the one. It's one of the fastest. Then you got Chipotle is offering 99.95% off its garlic guajillo steak bowl to celebrate Ethereum's merge to proof of stake. And they have a funny thing here, proof of stake. So after the merge, you can now use Ethereum to pay for it and get that discount. Bank of England says QE will be on whatever scale is necessary, quantitative easing, so printing and money, buying debt. That's what they're going to be doing. And then you have, this is like the Christine Lagarde video. So we have to respond to the demand for the digital payment. Everything is accelerating. The wait will soon be over. CBDCs are required to maintain the role of central banks.
Precipitated crisis after crisis. Where do we stand? We central bankers. We have been operating as a monetary anchor in relation to the commercial banks and the private money. If we are not in that game, if we are not involved in experimenting, in innovating in terms of digital central bank money, we risk losing the role of anchor that we have played for many, many decades. And we have historical examples of period where the central bank monetary anchor was not there, and that precipitated crisis after crisis. That certainly was the case at the time of the free banking in the 19th century. Do we want to go back to those days? Probably not. I would say certainly not from our vantage point, as a result of which we have to respond to the demand for those digital payments in order to maintain the role of anchor that we have been playing regularly. Where do we stand? We central bankers. We have been operating.
And we're going to end it on this. If your financial situation isn't great, read this and take it to heart. In 2023, you have to figure out how to get as much capital as possible into stocks and crypto, tighten expenses, work multiple jobs, make a side hustle, make the sacrifices, and get invested. Plan now. And it's so true, because you want to load up on these things, especially crypto, and because the currencies are dying and hyperinflation is coming. And these digital assets and things that have limited supply that are valuable are going to moon during those periods. So that's it for the newsletter, guys. I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to keep rattling these out so we can catch up. And yeah, so I'll see you in the Discord.